This is a Vantage Point with Pastor Henry podcast.
This is Vantage Point with Pastor Henry.
Welcome to another episode of Vantage Point with Pastor Henry. It is educative, informative, entertaining, enlightening, edifying, and spiritually uplifting. Sit tight and put on your seatbelt and get ready to be blown away.
Today's special guest is Chima Christian. Mr. Christian is a renowned public policy analyst in Nigeria. He is a highly sought for political analyst. Today Mr. Chima and Henry will be discussing issues around the recent elections conducted in Nigeria, the fallout of the results and other Nigerian issues.
Not just the system, the process. They were designed to function the way they did. And I'm not going to say more than this. Nigerians will know more in the coming days and months. So today, I'm not interested in doing those discussions. They are living on the internet. I will share some of them with you. I will share the videos with you. Or if you want, you can go to the internet, search for Chima Christian. I think I have a YouTube thing. I am also on Twitter and Facebook. And read up some of the things we wrote about that. I'm telling you this as a way to show up confidence about what I'm going to say next, because that is the most important thing. Nigerians are asking me, yes, you found out about these things. You talked about it. You warned us about it. We did not pay attention. Now what? And that is the essence of the video. And what I'm about to say today is very consequential. I've thought about it. These people will come after me. I know them, they will come after me. So what I'm going to say to you is at a great risk to my life. But I know my God is able to protect me. And if he chooses not to, Nigerians will not allow what happened to go to rest. Those who want to steal the collective destiny of Nigerians will not be allowed to succeed. So here are the instructions. It is not enough, one, to try to prove to Nigerian courts what happened on February 25th, or how the election results were changed. It is not enough. People will try, but it is not enough. So here are additional things we will do to get back this mandate and to indeed dismantle the structure of criminality that has held Nigeria down. So civil litigation will not get Nigerians out of this mess. Please share this video. Please share this video and watch till the end. Civil litigation will not get Nigerians out of this mess. So if the people who did this are allowed to be roaming the streets, we will not win them with any civil litigation, no matter what evidence we bring to the courts. And so that's why the essence of this video is to invite Nigerians. Remember that I warned you about the beavers. You didn't agree. I warned you about the IREF. We warned you about the abyss. We warned you about the voter register. We warned you about all the systems and the processes. And we begged you to insist that these systems be subjected to multi-stakeholder audit and integrity tests. You did not listen. May God bear me witness again that I'm warning you not to go to civil litigation only. The Nigerians must now begin a criminal inquest as to what happened and how it happened. And the criminal proceedings will become from the top. Whoever is the beneficiary of this crime, whatever his name is, Nigerians will now have to begin criminal inquest against him. I'm not inviting I'm inviting the Nigerian state if they're interested. But if the Nigerian state is not interested, the Nigerian masses, the Nigerian public, we have to protest differently. Let nobody go to the streets to protest. Let nobody go to the streets to protest. Let no young person go to the street to protest. We will conduct our protest differently this time. We did NSAS 1.0. NSAS 2.0 failed. It is about to fail. NSAS 3.0, they can't come out of it. They shot us NSAS 1.0. They rigged us NSAS 2.0. NSAS 3.0, they will not come out of it. But don't protest. Don't carry any placard. Don't go out. Don't go anywhere. Because the men who planted this is just like a game of chess to them. They have anticipated that we will react out of our emotions. And they have planned ahead of time. And so some of the military deployments you see is both for election day activities and post-election activities. Those bullets will not be wasted, emptied into someone's stomach. Don't protest. See how we protest now. So Nigerians, I wrote here, must begin criminal inquests and proceedings against the highest beneficiary of this crime and his close associates. We will hand the Nigerian state and the international community solid and stone-cold evidence of criminal infractions. So how do we do this, and who are the targets of this criminal inquest? 1, the highest beneficiary of this crime, his close associates and his families. Some of the things they did will be difficult to find, but I'll show you how. I'll show you how. Watch this. Please share this video. Share this. Don't let this slide. Share this. Nigeria's morning must come. We invite those with international financing, those with specialty in international financing and international monetary network, especially those who have competence in terror financing, to investigate every dot. The account numbers are known. Make them public. The account details of their associates are known. Make them public. Their business interests are known. Make them public. And some of the things they did, it will not be through direct wire transfers, of course. Some of these things will be shrouded in international finesse of transferring money. I invite you, if you have the skills, they have accounts with Nigerian banks. They have international accounts. They have VIN numbers. They have BVN numbers. It is now time to look at it through any means necessary. The entire ICT department of INEC, especially those who have direct responsibility over the BVAS and the IREV, investigate. Of course, I'm not inviting the Nigerian state to investigate. I'm inviting young people, investigate, and I'll show you how. The entire ICT department of INEC, especially those who have direct responsibility, share this video over the BVAS and the IRF. The 36 regs, INEC regs in the 36 states, these people that are coming to shake hands on the TV, investigate. And the state returning officers, national commissioners of INEC and their dependents, the man in River State and his associates, investigate, because they have messed up with the wrong generation. In this day and age of internet, those who dwell at the extreme ends of internet, I know there's nothing like extreme, but those who do live in the extremities of the internet will find ways. We will get their account details. All of them. Get their BVN, publish. Get their NIN, publish. Get their telephone records, publish. Our attack, we will attack them sea, air, and land. Sea, air, and land. Young Nigerians, don't protest. Those who have the skills, devote your energy to this. This is how we can land these guys in prison. Criminal inquest. Civil litigation alone will not solve what happened. What they did will not be solved. If it is to Nigerian courts will not give us back our mandates using civil litigation alone. We must find the evidence to make criminal proceedings against these guys, and this is how. Those who live in the extreme of the internet, I invite you to attack, investigate, take over their phones, take over their emails, take over their call records. And young Nigerians who are working with sensitive positions, you are in the ICT department of banks and you have access to information, make them public about these evil men. Make them public. Make them public. So who are the 36 state regs? First of all, get us their names. Let their names be out in the public space. Get their BVN, let it be out in the public space. Get their account numbers, let it be out in the public space. Get their pictures, let it be out in the public space. Let young people descend on them, not attacking them or their families, but let young people use this information to extract more information about them. We will investigate all the account details. So if you are a banker and you're a young person and you have access, we want to see the accounts, published accounts. So get those things out any which way. Those who understand international financing, get on this job. Get on this job. Get on this job. Get on this job. I invite you to look at their records. Publish their personal details. Publish their BVNs. Publish their NINs. Publish their bank details. Publish their bank statements if you can acquire them. Publish their pay slips. Publish some of the properties that are linked to them and their dependents, especially ones that were acquired in the last 1.5 years. Since these people deploy the ICT to arrive at their predetermined outcome for Nigerians, we will show them the real jagabans of the internet.
Hello, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. My name is Henry. Welcome to another Vantage Point episode. My goodness. We've been having a lot of technical issues. I have Chima waiting and he's trying to sort out his software update so that he can connect with my link, and he has not been able to. And my last resort is when I talk to him, I'm going to tell him maybe I'll just call him on audio and then interview him. But I wanted to introduce you guys to him. Chima Christian is a public policy analyst. He's been everywhere. Some of the videos you saw were videos that were interviewed when he was interviewed on big TV channels in Nigeria, AIT Online, and all those Afric TV. He's been to all of them, and I was fortunate. I'd like to say it that way. I was fortunate to catch a glimpse of him just after the elections, and then I connected with him. I connected with him for so many reasons, and I'm going to share some of it today. I remember after the elections, there was a prophecy I shared, and I don't want to go back into it now because of time. And I'm hoping Christian can come in if I can get him. There's one more video I'm going to play, and because when I watched this video at the end, he said something about his life being threatened because of what he was about to say and stuff like that. And I felt, in as much as I understood where he was coming from, I felt my first prerogative, my first responsibility for him would be to keep praying for him, because such people, their safety is very, very important. And not just safety, his well-being. I don't know if he's married and has children, but I felt an obligation to pray for him and to just keep him in prayers and watch over him, because his ideas were radical, and they were, if God is going to do anything to a nation, sometimes we have to take certain steps like that. And I think it's coming on. Wow, no video feed, Victor. Christian, there's no video feed. For some reason, you're okay, good. We have you coming up now. Good. I'm going to bring you on very soon. Can you hear me? Wave your hand. Let me know if you hear me. But you're not on yet. You're just in my studio. Okay, I see you, brother. Bless you. So I felt a huge commitment to pray for him. I felt a huge commitment to um, stay in touch. I actually called a lot of lawyers in Nigeria and I played the video for them. I said, please, what are the legal ramifications of this thing? And a lot of them gave me advice. And we said, if Victor ever needed help, we will help Victor. I keep saying Victor. Victor is one of the people I talk to. But let me, without much ado, I want to bring in Chima Christian. Hello, brother. How are you doing?
I'm doing exceedingly great. Thank you for
God
having me.
bless you, brother. God bless you. We haven't had the opportunity to talk. You've been traveling a lot and you've been a bit busy since the election. I just wanted to update you. We are multicasting or multi-streaming to my podcast, the audio. We're streaming to a TV channel, and we're also streaming to Facebook. So I'm not sure we connected YouTube because sometimes when I overconnect, when I multi-stream too many channels, it pulls down on the bandwidth. So we're only multi-streaming to TV channel, Facebook, and TV channel, Facebook, and podcast. Um, Welcome again, welcome again, welcome again. You're such a bold man.
Thank you.
When I watched that video of you, not just bold, you were very, very smart, super, super, super smart. That, let me say this, and I'm not saying it to blow smoke up you. When the elections in the US happened in 2020, I told people, I said, if it's not undone, um, it will be difficult to undo. And I also said there were so many things I said about this administration. I don't know, I might get in trouble for some of the things I'm about to say, but I did say things about this administration that have come to play out. They have absolutely come to play out. But when the Nigerian election happened on 25th, and of course we know what the results are, I felt this wasn't the time to sit back and say, okay, what happened. I remember I told my prayer team, I said, prayer team, there is an American team that left America, some from Maryland, some from Washington. I was shown three places, Maryland, Washington, and Atlanta. I said, go to Nigeria. I'm not in Nigeria, and I've not asked anybody, but I know once God speaks, I know God has spoken. Go to Nigeria and find out what Americans left these three places. Their hands are in the stealing of this election. I told people, I said, America used to export democracy, civility, and all of that. I said, America is going to begin to export cheated and stolen elections. I said that in 2020, November 2020. I said it. I have the video, I have the audio, I have the transcript. And when I saw that these people were in the dreams, I said, God, these people helped whoever steal this election. It wasn't a day after the election. I think I saw you on the 26th, and I said, my goodness. Let me start by asking you, your bona fides is not in contention, where nobody is arguing where you are. Nobody is arguing whether you're smart. We're going to find out all of that. Nobody's arguing whether you know what you're talking about. Anybody arguing that is wasting his time completely, because the best of the best TV channels in Nigeria have interviewed you. They still interview you. You were on air yesterday. You were on air day before yesterday. I see it all. So they know you, and you're not plucked out of the streets, out of nothing. You're plucked out of a place of knowledge. So let me ask you, what happened with the Nigerian election?
This is, for me personal. First, let me thank God for life and for opportunity. As you would know, all knowledge comes from Him, and to Him we return all the glory. I participated in the NSAS process. I have never had a brother that was molested, not a sister that was molested. All I saw were stories of young people who were being molested. And before I read their stories, I didn't know that such things exist. There is this shield around me that sometimes I can live in a bubble without experiencing. I live in a bubble of some sort that sometimes it seems as if there is a force field that protects me from the happenings all around me. Sometimes I could be in a vehicle, public transport, and maybe unruly police officers will flag us down. And they will sit out on my chair and they will search everybody around. They won't talk to me. and they'll say good morning, stand aside. And so that has been my experience even with SARS. So these already rogue elements had been courteous to me. So in some cases, I take them to be professional and courteous in their services. But when I began to read stories of people during the NSAS, I felt moved to join the protest. And as you would imagine, in my city, I was one of the young people who mobilized. And the records are there. Even in my city, there were fewer incidences of burnt police stations because of certain interventions we did. And when the emotions were about to run out, we asked young people to calm ourselves down. There were times we had to dismiss early because if we stayed there, we couldn't contain the energy of young people because stories upon stories were heartbreaking. And then when the tragic incident of October 20, 2020 happened, and before the October 2020 that was quite popular, there was something in Iva Valley in Enugu. There were a lot of killings trying to violently quell that protest. But one got the national acclaim, the others didn't, but these are equal lives that were lost. So we felt beaten. I also felt beaten. But it wasn't for too long before young people tried to form a group in Anambra called Theta, and I believe other groups tried to form something. So in that cluster, we were discussing what next. So because people were saying, okay, let us just rest for a while and then hit back the streets, we will say, no, this is not going to work. Let us do what we call PVC revolution. It was an idea. It is not from me, but I think people started saying, let us do PVC revolution, and we bought into it. So during the opening of the CBR exercise, I engaged, and that is where I learned these things. I found out the things I found out about Nigeria Decides 2023. So we're engaging to mobilize young people to come out to register, to obtain their PVCs as a way to participate in the general elections. And that was, we met limited success with that. But again, immediately after the emergence of P2B, there was this surge by young people because they had found in him someone credible, someone distinct from the establishment politicians. So that surge helped to amplify our message. So it was an ecosystem. P2B was feeding off our energy, and we are also feeding off his credibility. So that gave us a surge of some sorts that people began to come out in their numbers. Unfortunately, what happened was that if you recall, every Monday, INEC was releasing data, state-by-state breakdown of completed registrations, attempted registrations, and stuff like that. So every Monday when I go and look at the numbers to see how our efforts are shaping up, and I see that Anambra and several states in the southeast and the south-south were lagging behind some states in the north. And so we doubled our efforts with even donations from people from overseas who were donating to sponsor vehicles to move people from the market, from their homes to the registration centers, trying to provide logistic support to we even empaneled a group of young people to do pre-registrations for people. So every other effort we are doing, incrementally, we were adding more efforts just to see if we can beat up with the numbers. But our numbers were not improving. So I said to myself after the third week, something was amiss. And that was when I wrote the first time about INEC system and processes. I said, INEC, could you please volunteer me with the information? How many data capturing devices do you have in Nigeria? And what is the state-by-state distribution of how they were distributed? Because when you talk about enrollment, you're talking about data enrollment. You need those devices. By the way, it was that same BVAS, that same technology that was used for enrollment. It's just normal PDA that was programmed for that exercise. So I said, there is a surge. Young people want to register. First, you are holding these devices. There are 176,000 polling units in Nigeria, which means that there are 176,000 BVAS devices. Even if you didn't have that up to amount of devices as at June, July 2021, I know that Edo had elections, Anambra had elections. I think there were other states who had elections, and they had a lot of BVAS devices. Can't you mobilize these BVAS devices and send it to the streets so that people will register? But by denying people that BVAS devices to register, that capturing devices, they called it at that stage of the exercise, then you have technically limited the number of people who can participate. And we know that these people who are surging out at this time have kind of predisposition as to who they are most likely to vote. That's number one. So on the number of general supply devices, I saw that INEC was not willing to supply or to meet up with the voter registration demands. That is number one. Then number two is that even with the limited supply of devices, states like Borno were outperforming states like Anambra, states like Imo, states like Owerri. Despite the surge, states like even Edo states, of course, you saw what happened in Edo and the kind of energy of young people within Edo. But states like Borno We are outperforming Edo in voter registration. But that's not, consistent with the few reports we are getting. So then it occurred to me that it is perhaps that INEC had deployed more data capturing devices in those places than in some places. And if I give you this instance, if you deploy 29 devices to Anambra and you deploy 100 devices to Borno, for instance, you have technically conferred undue advantages to Borno, which means that they are able to onboard more voters than other places. So in a given polling unit, I can give you breakdown of the polling units the registration centers are intervened. There was one registration device in Onitsha North local government. There were two in Nnewi North, servicing Nnewi North local government and Nnewi South, all in Anambra State, because Nnewi South was particularly taken over by unknown government. There was one in Enugu South. There were 3 devices in Oka South local government at some point before it was increased to 5. So in the whole of Anambra, you had about 29 devices at some point. Enugu, same story. So there was a pattern that there were limited devices in some regions. But again, I didn't have the data to make such claims. Even as at today, I cannot justify those claims because there is no evidence. All I have is mere suspicion. But what solidified my belief that my data could be right or my theories could be right is the way and manner INEC tried to dodge the questions. I left them at that. We continued, and when the exercise ended, INEC said, okay, that they were going to do what they called, I think I've forgotten the name they called it, but the bottom line is that if you had done multiple registrations, that they were going to take away one of the registrations and retain one. And we argued to INEC because I saw Festus Okoye on the TV. He was saying if you had done multiple registrations, that INEC was going to take away the new registration and keep the old registration. And I said to INEC, for instance, if I served in Kano, where I did my NYSC, and I did one registration then. And I'm now in Lagos where I've set up a business, doing business. And I have tried to retrieve my details from Kano. I was unable to do that. Now that I've tried to register again in Lagos, is it not only sensible for you to retain my newest registration and yank off the old one? That was the argument we made to INEC. There is evidences to these arguments. And I made the presentation to leadership of political parties, INEC. I think I also spoke about it on a platform on one of the TV stations, local TV stations here in Nigeria. Unfortunately, INEC had its way. They did that. And that explained why you saw that about 2.78 million Nigerians were invalidated. They were invalidated simply because INEC was unable to amend its in-house business rules. And I said these 2.78 million registrants are new registrants, and it is more than likely that we know where they are more than likely to vote, right? So that argument is there. Then we asked INEC, what is the clear justification for invalidating 2.78 million Nigerians? They said, oh, well, there are 3 justifications. First is, according to them, underage voters. Number 2 is what they call fake or outrightly fake registrations that fail to meet INEC business rules. And number 3 is multiple or double registration. So these are the 3 main excuses INEC provided as to why they invalidated people's votes. We said, oh, no problems. We accepted the excuses on their face value and went on until INEC on itself exposed itself by bringing state-by-state breakdown of those invalidations. State-by-state breakdown of those invalidations. And what I did was I just looked at it for 6 days. I was just looking at the data, and with the inspiration of the Holy Spirit, I took those data and I put it on Excel. I didn't do anything spectacular because when people tend to talk about some of my work, it's not as if I'm doing something spectacular. These are just the everyday thing. I just took the data, the raw data from INEC, and put it on Excel. What INEC provided was state-by-state breakdown of the invalidations. And I put it on Excel to generate regional validation data. And it jumped on me that there was something remiss that was happening. First, 49.3% of all rejected registrants were coming from 2 regions, Southeast and South-South. Nationally, there was a 22% rejection rate. If you take out Southeast and South,
wow, hold on. Say that again, please. Say that again.
Nationally, there was 22% rejection rate. So of all the people who came out in Nigeria between June 2021 and July 2022, when INEC concluded that registration, nationally, 22% of those people were rejected. If you take that number in their quantum, 49.3% of that is nearly 50%, were coming from just 2 regions, the Southeast and the South-South. that's half coming from the Southeast and South-South. So there was 22% national rejection rate. But for the Southeast and the South-South, there was 35.2%. But for the Northeast, Northwest, North Central, and the Southwest, it was only 17%. But the Southeast and the South-South had twice. And if you want to go into deeper levels of analysis, you will see that the Northeast completed 1.5 million registrations. The Southeast completed 1.4 million registrations. By the time the data went through INEC processes, the Southeast was left with just 930,000 additional voters. But the Northeast, which completed 1.5 million, were left with 1.4 million. So the Southeast became the only region that could not add additional 1 million margin in their voter register. Not because they did not clock in the numbers, but because there was an in-house system that was a tool for voter suppression. And I now said, Thor, I put out my findings and I put it out in the public domain, and it trended. It brought me to a lot of...
went viral. I saw that one. Yes. It went mega viral. Yes.
Yes. And I granted a few interviews, and I used that data to try to make arguments to... I can't disclose names of people I've met. It will be a breach of contract. It will be injuring my own self. But I met with the high and might, including presidential candidates, including their campaign councils, including chairmen of political parties. And I made arguments to them. I say, protest these numbers. My own purpose is not to trend on social media. And if you see the way I use my social media, I don't use media to trend. It's not my thing. I just say something when I have something to say. When I don't have anything to say, I'm comfortable with staying quiet for 2 months. I'm comfortable with that. So I said, yes, I'm trending, but this is not the goal. The goal is not to trend. The goal is to see that something was happening and to stop it. And unfortunately, they were looking at other data that told them that they had won the elections already. Therefore, that 2.78 million marginal votes was not going to substantially affect the outcome. So that was how 2.78 million Nigerians were not able to vote. And today we now know that 2.78 million, even if we had gotten 1.5 million out of that 2.78 million, that anyways, those arguments are there. Now, INEC said they have cleaned up the voter register, and the second ungo they scored was to display the voter register on the internet. And when they said they had taken away 2.78 million, and they said that they used a software called ABIS, Automated Biometric Identification System, which is a system where they run all those numbers, which is the system that disqualified 49% of people from the Southeast and the South-South, which is the system that produced that miraculous numbers. And it then occurred to me that the systems were not efficient as advertised, because INEC had advertised the system. It said if you had done multiple registration, it would take it out automatically. When I saw the voter register, there were many iterations of multiple registrations. It said it will weed out ghost voters automatically. If you look at our voter register, you will see ghost voters. It said it will weed out on the age voters. Of course, you know that voter register is riddled with several incidences of underage voters. And that was so it became clear to me that ABIS was not functioning as advertised. And I said, if these people had tried to technically compromise the election using ABIS, let us even look at the beavers. That was where I went into, I think, a 3-month research work into the beavers, into the IRF, into... This is not because of that, remember this thing started with answers. And this is the progression as to how I now seem to know much about the systems. And what I saw about the systems were frightening. Some I cannot say even till now. We are frightening, quite frightening. And the mess was, the compromise was at the highest levels.
Come on.
And I tried to take the data. I tried to make arguments. People who listened to me said, Guy, you have something to say. I will make appointments between you and this guy. Go and talk to him. I talked to everybody I could talk to. I even tried to mobilize money. There was this group, DGG, Diasporans for Good Governance, Mike Okaka, Ambassador Konko, Barrister Franklin Nwako. These are Nigerians living in the diaspora who had formed an organization, and they gave me money to call the press conference. They paid for that slot on Arise TV, where I appeared to talk about the beavers, to talk about everything that was going wrong with the elections. Unfortunately, down the line, I couldn't secure additional funding to keep this because each of those media things had cost implications. Even my going to those cities to argue those things had implications. So I couldn't secure additional funding. And the people I was talking to that I wanted to help felt that they had won the elections already. Therefore, there was no need to be extra cautious. So that was how they went into the elections. And what was my argument? Do not walk into the elections with untested systems and processes. If INEC says they have IREV, let us bring our experts to critique the IREV. It's as simple as that. If you say you have the abyss, which disqualified 2.78 million Nigerians, let us even see the abyss and how it works. And make no mistake, what I called was for a forensic audit and integrity test.
I saw that.
Not to be confused with PR stunts, which is what INEC has been doing, PR stunts. So I said to them, I assure you, showing us pictures of the beavers on the TV is not what we're calling for. Let us audit these systems. If the political parties don't have inherent capacities, they can hire consultancy outfits to go and look at these systems and advise them on whether those devices are suitable for use. Before granting you this interview, 3 days or 4 days ago, I spoke again with my friend who is a professor, who is a doctor of computer sciences. Because what I do is when I have data and some of these things, I run them by subject matter experts. So I ran my findings by her. I said, look at these things, and she advised me. And her specialty is on human interactions with the systems. Because I'm seeing almost lazy assumptions in Nigeria. People saying, oh, that the systems did not fail, that it was the human beings who used the system that failed. That is a nonsense and blase argument of someone who is not lettered. There is a field in computer sciences called human interaction with systems. So before you design any system, you must design, because the systems are not to be operated in a vacuum. You must design real world usage of those systems. So you must iterate between the person who is going to use the system and the intended purpose of the system. Is there any kind of compromise of some sort? Whether it is coming from the system or it's coming from the human being who you have given autonomy over the system, the processes must be streamlined. And that is my argument, that we went into a national election with untested systems, untested processes. And today, the outcome has justified the initial cry. And this is not to tell you, oh, I was right, they were wrong. This is not the case. The case is to say that we had an opportunity to curtail this evil. We did not. Now, how can we reclaim the lost mandate? So that is what brought me to this point. And I believe that has answered your questions as to that.
Wow. My guest today is Chima Christian. He's a public policy analyst. I've been following him for about 2.5 months now, and I have been impressed by his presentations. He doesn't talk from empty head. He talks from a wealth of experience and knowledge. And he's been interviewed by many people. We're coming up on a hard break, but I just want to appreciate those of you watching by TV. My TV channel is blowing up. I think this is probably, it will be among the top 5 numbers I've ever seen on my TV channel live. I know ultimately people get to watch it again, a rerun, but it's blowing up, and there's a lot of Nigerians in diaspora, Africans in diaspora, who are very interested in what is going on. And I just wanted to say, this is going to go Africa. It's going to go global Africa, where people wake up and use their smarts. Nigerians and Africans are smart, and they are winning elections and doing great things all over the world. It's time for us to clean up our house, because that's a huge problem for us. When I come back, I'm going to ask Christian some questions, and I'm going to take your own questions. If you have any questions, please drop them in the chat. If you're watching by TV, you can email me, or if you already have the email. If you don't have it, it is go to Jesus House. You will find an email there, or you go to remagospeltv.tv and you'll find us there as well. But just send me your questions. I'll take as much as we can. I can't hold Chima for too long because he has to go, but we'll be back and we will have more questions for Chima. Please don't go anywhere.
Vantage Point with Pastor Henry and Chima Christian will return in a moment. Don't go anywhere.
Past 2 a.m. in the morning, and this is the first time I'm going to be asking you to share a video. Share this video. This video will save lives, and watch this video to the end. I don't even know when or how long this video will last, But please pay attention to everything I'm going to say now and share this video and implement. Late last year, early last year, I began to work on INEC systems and processes. Some people may have seen some of my work. And immediately after the CVR data, I put out an infographic where I said that INEC may have technically compromised the wishes of ordinary Nigerians. And I used data to back that up. I showed the distribution of INEC data, the distribution of invalid registrations, and I used that to make an argument as to say that something is happening. And that was the first time my attention was called to it. And then from then I started investigating the process. I asked myself, how did they invalidate? I learned about the abyss. I inquired about the abyss. I went into several months of work. And by the time I finished with INEC data, I came to the conclusion that no matter what young Nigerians do, that they will not take 2023. And I began to talk about it. I wrote articles about it. I will share some of them with you. I made Twitter spaces about them. I granted more than 30 radio interviews about them. I had about 6 to 7 radio TV appearances about them. I did countless number of social media posts about them. Because I found something about the beavers, really. And some of the things you guys will find out about the beavers, I found them out. There were things I found out about the abyss, but I couldn't say it with my mouth. There are things I found out about IREV, I couldn't say it with my mouth. So I started calling for independent multi-stakeholder audits. I will share videos. I said Nigerians should not walk into this election without conducting an independent multi-stakeholder audit. So the essence of calling for those things, we called for press conferences with funding support from DGG and some other Nigerians. We made the case, coherent case as to why Nigerians should not agree to go into an election except if all the systems and processes INEC would deploy to conduct this very election are subjected to multi-stakeholder audit and integrity test. My aim was that if Nigerians agree that during the integrity test that they will find out what I already know about the beavers and the abyss and the IRF. Interestingly, Nigerians did not pay attention, and they agreed to walk into an election with a compromised system. And today the result is evident.
Welcome back. My name is Henry, and this is Vantage Point with Pastor Henry. My guest today is Chima Christian. Like I said, he's a public policy analyst, and we've been talking about what happened with the 2023 Nigerian elections. I see a lot of you on TV. I see Funke from Dubai is asking a question. How did this become an East versus West struggle? And then I see Abidemi from Egypt. You're saying Nigeria is a lost cause, and I don't want you to go there. I'm trying to read some of your comments. I see Urege, either you're from Edo or something. If I'm pronouncing your name wrong, please forgive me. But Urege, you said, I know Mr. Christian, he speaks the truth. And I don't know that INEC has qualified men to run anything. They should have given it to smart people like Mr. Christian. I agree with you. I second that. I see Felicia. Felicia, thank you for your comment. She said, God bless you, Mr. Christian. May God protect you. May they never see you to touch you. What you're doing is bold, and may God give you grace. I want to thank all of you again for your very kind words to Christian. I might have him multiple times, and I'm not interested in him doing anything politically or whatever he wants to do, but I'm interested in how we can help him with staying alive to be able to put the truth out there. You know, when the people who can tell the truth lose their voice, in any capacity, the truth ceases to be heard. There are times in our lives when the truth can only be told by a certain caliber of people. And if they can't say it, then we live in a community and a society where only the lie is heard. And that is why I brought Chris. This is not going to be a religious event. This is just going to be straightforward talking politics and truth to power what happens in Nigeria. Let me bring Christian back and ask him a question. Hello, brother. God bless you again. Thank you for the information. I mean, this is blowing up all over Africa, all over the world. People are just hearing what you're saying. And on Facebook, we have just a few following, but I think we are almost at 380 on TV. And people are just crazy, very impressed by what you have said and what you... I wanted to ask you a question that Funke asked. How did this become an East versus West issue? I don't know if you have an answer for that, but sadly, you are from the Igbo part and I am Igbo. You're from your name, Chima. I can tell you're Igbo. I spoke Igbo to you. You didn't answer. I said, thank God he doesn't want to go there. So let's not do it.
I didn't pay attention,
and
right?
I went to the federal government college, which was an idea to kind of bring unity in Nigeria. But I don't think I can even visit my old federal government college, Maiduguri. Now, I cannot go to Maiduguri. It's not a safe place. I don't know how safe it is. Now, I have pastors and friends who are telling me, it's not too safe. But that idea failed. So how did this become an East versus West battle? Do you have an idea of that?
Yes, I in fact completed an article. I just shared part of it on my Facebook and other platforms a while ago, talking about leadership issues in
I
this
saw
thing.
that on the Southeast. Yes, I saw that one.
Yes,
Yeah,
it
I
will
just saw it.
quickly escalate.
Yes.
But let me go to Atiku, for instance. I worked for him in 2019 through P2B. I was nominated a member of their presidential campaign council in 2019. At least I was a part of the media and publicity units of that presidential campaign council. And I observed him from that range. I didn't work directly with him, but I saw him a couple of times up close. And it appeared to me that he's a cosmopolitan guy. People don't know this, but his personal doctor is an Igbo man, even till today. But that was the same man. His business associates, the closest of them are Igbos and drawn from all parts of Nigeria. That was the same man that was caught on camera asking his people in a particular event in the north not to vote for Igbo, vote for Yoruba, they should vote for Hausa. Tinubu. Some of Tinubu's closest associates, including the people doing some of his businesses, are also Igbos. So Tinubu at that level don't have business with issues with Igbos. Same with Atiku. But you see politicians try to exploit because people are tied to their identities and totems and markers of those identities. So if Tinubu wants to win Lagos and he sees that demonizing Igbos will help him to retain Lagos, as a typical politician, especially those who have been accused of, if you know anything about mafians, you know about drug related, they don't care a hoot about consequences. The only thing they want to achieve is their results. No matter what the cost, they're willing to pay it to achieve their results. And so if the results of holding on to the power in Lagos is to demonize people, you use those rhetoric that will inspire, because he was losing his grip on, at least before the elections, PWP was confident of winning the votes of the Southeast. Atiku was also a little bit confident of winning the votes of his people in the North. Not that much, but at least a little bit confident. Unfortunately for Tinubu, he hasn't inspired that much of organic following in the Southwest. And so he was not able to be confident that he was going to secure that much home-based support, which he needed to ratchet up numbers from elsewhere to become the president. And then so he doubled down on ethnic politics, on trying to rile his base, on trying to speak to that animosity that had been there before now. He did not create this animosity, mind you, but he tried to profit from that animosity. And in the immediate instance, he tried to stoke ethnic tensions, fires here and there to profit politically, not because he believes Igbos are evil, but because he thinks by saying the kind of things he said, inspiring his young people and his foot soldiers to do the kind of things they did, to stop that demography from voting because it was already predetermined the way they were going to vote. And you could see those things. Unfortunately, you're able to start a fire. Where that fire might go is what you may not be exactly in the position to control. So if this gets out of hand, Nigerians know who to hold responsible. But again, we don't want it to get out of hand and now start blaming people. That is why I invite leadership that Igbos, for instance, must empanel a new set, a new breed of leaders, top leaders, not charlatans who will merely regurgitate the problems and not articulate solutions, but people who can tell you about the problems and talk to you about sensible solutions and try to mobilize broad consensus into those solutions. We have five elected governors, at least some of them are serving out their tenures, but as of today, they are governors. None of them has said a word about what is happening in Lagos. We have Federal House of Reps members, we have senators elect, we may have members of House of Representatives elect, we have governors elect, we have even a presidential candidate. And none of these people had cared enough to ask questions, what is happening in Lagos and how can we diffuse these tensions? Even if it includes sending a delegation to go and meet with these people to try to broker some kind of peace. But people are just self-censoring themselves, trying not to appear too Igbo so that Nigeria will accept them. Look, there is a question of Igbos and Yorubas in Lagos. It must have Igbo leadership and Yoruba leadership to try to resolve the issue. I don't see that leadership, especially on the Igbo side. And because we have seen suspected cases of arson, we have seen markets burnt allegedly by hoodlums, no proof. We have also seen what happened in Lagos during the governorship elections. Again, I have not seen any coordinated attempt by Igbo political elites to try to douse these tensions. So that is where I say that if you leave this thing to spring organically, for people to take spontaneous actions in the absence of leadership, that charlatans might want to profit. Already, I can see that, for instance, if not that IPOP has discredited themselves so bad, they might want to profit from these issues, and some of their solutions are always half-baked. That is why either we go the route of establishment politics to invite our governors, elected representatives, Igwes, even the Christian Association of Nigeria, for instance, even the church can play some form of leadership role to avoid Nigeria heading straight to Rwanda.
Because I have a lot of people on TV asking these questions, that the battle is not certainly deep rooted, but it is fed now. There are people who still hold on to it, but that the younger generation understand what is going on. Do you see any truth to that?
Make me understand your question, please.
That the battle is still something of an older generation thing, but the younger generation are paid to believe what is going on. Most of them don't really buy into this regional differences, and because the youth that voted a certain presidential candidate voted for him across their region, across religion, across. What do you say about that?
Yes, I believe that young people are able to bypass that ethnic bias and that regional biases that beset, unfortunately, our parents and the generation of our parents. Yet, our generation is not immune to certain tendencies, so to speak. That we are young does not mean that we are immune to see if there is consistent pushing out of narratives, if there is consistent pushing out of information, whether they are paid or they are spontaneous. If you continue to push out that kind of narrative, then it won't be too long, because you see the thing with biases or half-baked truths or propaganda is that they are not entirely lies, because propaganda founded on entirely lies don't travel too far, but they contain in them some elements of truth. But they take one part of it and then they embellish it with lies, and then they attract you with that thing that looks like the truth, and they embellish it with all. So what you're seeing is that there is a stereotyping going on. And by the way, because of the way we Igbos conduct businesses, because of the kind of properties people own, whether or not people worked so hard legitimately to acquire those properties, but what you see is that people tend to have wealth. People tend to have abundance in places that they are considered visitors. And when you continue to push people to tell them that you are poor because the other person is rich, and it won't be too long before he starts believing this. if you consistently tell him that these people have come to take over your land, for instance, if you begin to tell them, look at the choicest estates in this place, they are the owners, they have come to, and you won't tell them that they worked hard to buy those properties. It's not as if someone came with AK-47s, like you see some people doing in Nigeria, to force people out of their land. These people came, worked legitimately hard, and acquired properties. So if you continue to feed young people with that kind of narrative, then the human mind is not that vast, and people are not that intelligent, so to speak. If you continue to feed that narrative, it will only be long. It won't be too long, for instance, before some of them start buying into it. And if you look at comments on social media, you will see that some young people are, even within my Twitter today, someone had already tweeted something. Of course, he had earned himself a block. Someone had tweeted at me when I posted that it was we Igbos that started it, that we thought we owed Lagos. But I'm not going to go into those arguments, because what you see that person who tweeted that thing from the profile seems to be a young person. Whether or not he was paid to tweet, I don't know. But it is more than likely that some people would be getting fed by this constant narrative, especially pushed by people who are pushing these narratives, not because they believe in them, but they're pushing this narrative to retain the stranglehold on an illegitimate mandate. Illegitimate mandates. And so they're not doing it because they believe this is the right thing to do. They're just, once they consolidate on their power, once they are sworn in, once the court cases are over, you will see these same people preaching peace and tolerance. But they are preaching division today because it is their pathway to retaining that stolen mandate.
Wow. When we come back, we're going to talk a little more about the questions that people are asking. And sadly, I can't hold Christian for too long. But we'll see if we can, beg him to squeeze us into his very tight schedule. And we'll see what time again we can bring him on. My name is Henry, and my guest today is Chima Christian, and we will be right back.
Vantage Point with Pastor Henry and Chima Christian will return in a moment. Don't go anywhere.
They say there is a pandemic of loneliness in 2022. It is the loneliest year on the record. Almost 70% of single and 49% of married people feel some form of loneliness. Christmas Day, Valentine's, wedding anniversaries, and children's birthday celebrations are reported to be some of the days when people feel most alone. For obvious reasons. In 2022, the human population hit 8 billion. But never has there been any time when both men and women had the most problem finding love or finding life partners. Introducing The Heart of a True Lover by Henry N. Wainwright. In this book, Henry exposes deep scriptural meanings and spiritual significance of the Bible, and reveals the answers it holds to the questions that humanity is asking. Questions like, why am I still single? How do I find my soulmate? Why do I keep attracting the wrong kind of people? Did I marry the right or wrong person? How do I overcome my fear of rejection? How can I get people to love me? How do I handle vulnerability? The Heart of a True Lover is a must-read. Grab your copies today on Amazon, Apple Books, Lulu, Google Books, Barnes & Noble, Smashwords, Kobo, or head over to www.theheartofatruelover.com.
You're watching Vantage Point with Pastor Henry and special guest Chima Christian. Welcome back.
Welcome back. Welcome back. My name is Henry, and I appreciate all of you watching. I love to appreciate Dr. Gibo from the Philippines watching. I want to appreciate Elizabeth watching all the way in China. I don't know how you're watching in China. I really don't know how they will let you watch this in China, but it's such an honor to have you. Barrister Victor Oruno watching in Nigeria. Thank you for coming on. And Pastor Zach Ochoga watching by Facebook, wanted to appreciate you. Pastor Kelechi Akando watching by Facebook, want to appreciate you guys for watching. I want to bring Victor on, and I'm going to, this is the last session, and I want to ask him a few questions. This is the part that made me fall in love with this young man. And I started praying for him. I don't know. I wanted to ask him funny questions, but we are talking serious issues, so no funny jokes or that kind of a thing. So, but he laid out a strategy that blew me away. You guys go check him on YouTube. I played a part of it here. And that's the one that made me ask some lawyers, is this guy in trouble? Can we help him if he gets into trouble? Because he has ideas that we just, this is how we overcome corruption. That's one thing US did not do. They kind of sat back and tried to, his advice, if I can put it down, was, don't trust the legal system alone. And then there was one, I want to make a bumper sticker with this one. These people are analog, we are digital. I love that saying. And he now encouraged, he said, look, we can, it was literally digital guerrilla warfare. And I'll tell you what I did on my side. You can ask the people in my prayer team. I don't know if any of you, Pastor Kelechi was in the prayer on today is what, Saturday, so he was in the prayer yesterday. No, we pray for on Wednesday. I don't know if others are on, but we looked at situations and said, you know what, the judicial system is failing, completely failing. And it was right after that we got a picture of somebody. And if you go to his timeline, you see he posted it. We got a picture of the Chief Justice of Nigeria pretending to be a crippled man on a wheelchair, going to have a clandestine meeting with a presidential candidate in another country. And you don't need to be told that is wrong. You don't need to be told. I told the people in the prayer group, I remember when Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton were parked in the tarmac and they met the then Chief Justice of Nigeria, no, is it the I've forgotten, Secretary of whatever, but she was in charge of the judiciary, and spoke with her for 40-something minutes in the tarmac. It was in Arizona or Texas, I can't remember what city, and that's wrong. Wise people don't do wrong things. They don't just stop there. They consider what appears to be wrong. If it appears to be wrong, that's how wise you should be. You don't do it. And we know, okay, and my mom is watching and she said, yes, she was in the prayer group. Hello, Mom, God bless you. So I want to ask Christian that question because this is where he exploded. He became very popular. It went mega viral on Twitter, on YouTube, and even on Facebook. And I want to ask him questions about that. And I want to be very, very circumspect and careful so we don't both get in trouble. But how much more can you tell us of those ideas? What can you regurgitate? Because I'm pretty sure a lot of the people who are watching me haven't seen it. And can I be frank with you? I know people who have signed up to do a lot of what you ask them to do. I know people even on your timeline who started volunteering. I'm a this, I'm a tech this, I'm this, I can do this, I can do this. You woke up the generation of youth and made them realize where our skill and giftings can be and what we can do about it. And I'm telling you, it's bearing fruit. If it wasn't bearing fruit, I know how far along on the lie we would have gone, but it's bearing fruit, and I want to thank you for that. So my question was this: what can you regurgitate about those strategies that you shared? What are you comfortable sharing again now?
Well, thank you for the question. Before I lay out the schematics, of course, you would know that I will skip through it. But before I lay out the schematics, let me first of all, again, thank God for grace. You see, I shared that video out of a body. Most people don't know this. I have a wife, I have children. And since I made that video, they've not gone to school, they've not gone to work. And that is part of the sacrifices of the kind of work we do. And there's this book I read, Democracy in Dangerous Places. Nigeria is now one of those dangerous places, but we are also practicing democracy. It's quite interesting and amusing at the same time. I didn't make that video out of frivolity or because I wanted to trend. You see, the very first day they started announcing that election, people were rejoicing on Twitter that they were leading. And I say, oh my God, these people are walking into a trap. And I was grieved in my spirit. I was grieved in my spirit. I was grieved. I was just grieved. I can't explain the kind of burden, the intense burden I was under. Because if these things were not revealed, that they happened to us in shock and surprise, fine. But these things were revealed before time, and we failed to protect or to do something. And then a lot of people are now turning around to blaming God for our own irresponsibility. So I was so grieved in my spirit. One, I was considering what is the impact of this election on young people. There are people, for instance, if you looked at the 1993 elections, the Abiola election that was annulled, a lot of our parents who voted in that election, some of them have not voted again from that period till now. Some of them. So I'm saying that if we don't manage 2023 properly, we would have lost a generation completely. And some of us will still turn around to vote, but you won't see that kind of energy and organic momentum of young people again. And without that, these people will keep their stranglehold. So I was praying and asking God, what are we going to do about this? And then on my comments, one or two people following me and asking me, Chima, you saw this coming, what next? So the question was, what next? As if I'm the reservoir of ideas. I don't have ideas of my own. So I was just praying in my spirit and asking God, what should we do? And I was so burdened. And then that idea came. And I started writing. It was just coming. I was writing, was just coming. I can't, when you find my notes, you will find that the ideas that you do sometimes they don't come fully formed. They just come in bits and pieces. I just scribble things here, scribble. So I just scribble things around and then left it there. But you know, once I wrote that thing on my notes, my peace left me completely. I was burdened before, but after writing those things, my peace left me. So from around 12 noon, when I had been trying to sleep, because I have not been sleeping, so I have been trying to sleep since 12 noon that day I made the video. 3 p.m. I couldn't sleep, 4 p.m., 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 11 p.m., 12 p.m., 2 p.m. I couldn't sleep. I now flinged out my camera, made that video, and recorded it offline and edited it. And then I was just playing it back to myself. And I now fell asleep. The peace that eluded me for the 12 preceding hours just came back after I had made that video. And while I was watching it and I fell asleep, my wife came to the room where I was, picked up the phone to go and charge, and saw the video and spent her time watching it, the entire video. And then when I woke up in the morning, she asked me this question: is there something you want to tell me? I said, no. Is there something I should tell you? He says, talk. And
I
you
love
know how
I
women
love
are.
that woman. That approach is super, super matured. Is there something you want to tell?
So then she was just pacing around the house, acting some funny way. I said, babe, what is the problem? He says, are you sure there's nothing you want to tell me? I said, there's nothing I want to tell. Are you expecting me to, what, am I in trouble? He says, not yet. He said, I saw a video on your
Yes.
phone. Saw a video on your phone. I hope you're not going to post that thing. I
Wow.
said, what's your advice? I said, please don't post it. Even if you are going to say something, water it down. Don't be that explicit. And I listened to her advice and I wanted to do that. Immediately, my peace left me. As I was just going to tell her, okay, my peace left me completely. Again,
Wow.
because I wanted to go and remake the video to water it down, to not say some of the things I said, to make an euphemized version of it. My peace left me, and from the time I woke up around 7 o'clock till 11 o'clock that day when I posted that video, I didn't have peace until I posted it. And I posted it, and I said, I have posted it. Whatever will happen, let it happen. If the heavens will fall, let it fall. And that was me. I was just saying, I have done my best. Let me gain my peace. By the way, whatever Nigeria was going to do to me pales in comparison to what my heart was already doing to me in the house. Because I said to myself, I have looked into the future. If young people poured out into the streets with that kind of anger, what I saw was blood spilling. I saw, and even if there was just one person shot and killed, it would be a permanent scar on my conscience, especially when I knew that I received the word to stop that and I didn't share it. So that was why I shared the video. And then if you had looked at my video, sometimes I share video 13 views, 20 views, 100 views, 300 views, and that one picked up on its own, started traveling. In fact, where the video did the highest numbers was not on my platform. There was
I
this
noticed, yes.
It wasn't on my platform. Where the video did numbers was on some of the bloggers who picked it, remodeled it, and posted. Sometimes their places is clocking 700,000, their places is clocking a lot of views. And immediately people started calling me, or especially those who know me, have my direct, calling me, telling me, where are you, pretentious? You know, I didn't have that kind of, I'm a usually bold person, and not by my own power, but by the Holy Spirit. But that's kind of people, a lot of people calling you, my parents, everybody just trying to, I just now felt I should protect myself. And I did, humanly speaking, what I could do to try to protect within the limited resources I had. Try to, all of those things. But now to your question, I've laid out how the video came about. So it wasn't my own making. It was just a vessel. I have said that Peter has a good case in court. The elections were stolen. I keep repeating it. It's a stolen mandate. And the technical compromises were visible. Nigerians will know more. When the fireworks start in court, Nigerians will know more about how the elections were stolen and about some of the things that's transpired, about the systems. Of course, facts are emanating now, but when the court arguments start in court, especially, we are begging the Nigerian judiciary to allow for a live streaming of the court session.
Come on.
That Nigerians can see how compromised this is. So if the judiciary allows for that, and I'm speaking with a lot of groups who are forming, trying to pressure and make the applications so that Nigerians can watch that in real time. So if we succeed with that, that would be a plus. And I know that that case will generate a lot of viewership for even the TV stations that will beam it live to make back their money, right? So it's not about the court funding it. TV stations can fund it on their own, and they'll get it back in terms of viewership. So we're making these cases, and maybe we're making limited success with that. But let's see what happens at the end of the day by the mercies of God. But that argument is being made, so Nigerians will know more. But regardless of how watertight Peter's case is, one of the key examples is this: the Court of First Instance, which is the appeal court that devolved into Election Petition Tribunal, had not even sat, had not had the case, and somebody is making an attempt to compromise the last court.
Wow.
If that meeting had happened in London, only God knows to what extent it would have compromised the cases even before the first argument was heard. I can tell you for free, the compromises you saw in Nigeria Decides 2023 were planned at least 1.5 years before the election. That is how bad the people you are dealing with are. That is how bad they are. So now, my argument in the video, not my argument, was that going to civil litigation alone will not be enough. That it is not just enough to say, oh, my mandate was stolen. Oh, this is where I got XYZ of number of votes and they made it just X. This is where this person got X number of votes and they made it XYZ plus A, right? That argument is for the civil litigation. That we shouldn't stop there. That we should go the extra mile of trying to find those who compromise the system. Was the server down? Who shut down the server? Who was paid? In what currency was he or she paid? Who made the payments? How did Mahmoud was arrogantly going on with announcing results even when officials of the party were raising sensible petitions against the continued processes? That kind of boldness can only come from somewhere. What happened? Where did he derive that confidence from? So can Nigerians investigate these kind of things? Then what of the judiciary? The panel that will sit on these cases and the kind of ridiculous judgments that we have been seeing in Nigeria. This is the same Supreme Court that awarded Uzodinma the governor. This is the same Supreme Court that decided the case, the celebrated case of Meshina versus Lawan. For people who don't know, Nigeria's current Senate President, Ahmed Lawan, did not participate in his party's primaries. Remember that he went off to APC primaries to contest for president. And when he failed, he came back to ask someone who won senatorial bid to relinquish it to him. And the law was clear.
You can't run
Either
for
this
two.
person
You can't run
dies,
for two, right? You can't run for two offices at the same time.
yes, you can. So either this person voluntarily says he's no longer running and the party will conduct, or the person dies. Those are the two conditions. But today the guy is still alive. The guy says he's running. You went and took his position. He challenged it in the court. The court agreed with him. He went to Supreme Court. Supreme Court invented new laws to just give. So this is the same Supreme Court you are going to argue your case at. And I've told people who can listen, even the drug case that should be watertight, this court can look at it and say, you know, this thing happened in another jurisdiction. Therefore, a court indictment in another jurisdiction should not concern us in this jurisdiction. And then they can invent silly numbers and silly arguments. So my case was, let us beam a searchlight on the systems. Beam a searchlight on the people around the systems, on the judiciary, on the panel, on even Tinubu and people around him, on INEC and people around them, on the system. You know, these people, we can identify these people, put a ring around them, because sometimes they don't operate directly. They operate through proxies. So if we can't get them, can we get them through the proxies? And I'm making the case, young people with tech ideas, technical know-how, can look for those data and can find it. I've said, look at their core records, look at the bank records, look at the financial trails, look at the airlines they have been hopping in, look at the hotel login, check-ins, look at a lot of things. You will find, you know, things there. But even if we don't want to go that route, Nigerians can mobilize resources to hire foreign investigators. And this is where I'll end it. For instance, Ike Kweremadu today is almost either has been convicted or about to be convicted for organ trafficking, right? If he committed that offense or that alleged offense in Nigeria, believe me, today he will be a free man. But because he committed that offense in another jurisdiction, today the long arms of the law had caught up with him in that jurisdiction. So I'm saying, does our CJN own houses in London, for instance, or in places, whether he owns them directly or he owns it through offshore companies? Can we hire private investigators in those places? Nigerians living in the United States can pool resources together and start looking at some of those key stakeholders. What are the properties? Where do their kids live? What are the interests? Who funnels money to their kids? Can we investigate those things and see if they had, at one time or the other, especially in these last 1.5 years leading up to the elections, committed things like under declaration of assets, things like tax evasion, things like money laundering? Can we look at those things and make criminal proceedings against them in those jurisdictions? The people who sent thugs in Lagos, can we investigate and connect them from one thug to the person who was the intermediary to the beneficiary of those thugs? Can we connect it and then use it to build our case against them? And it's because we have to. And by the way, I traveled recently and I was privileged to meet, let me leave them unnamed, but presidential elections have been overturned before in Africa. More recent example is in Kenya. And what I know about Kenya is that Kenyan Supreme Court judges did not overturn the elections just on the basis of the arguments that were laid in court. There were a lot of underground and diplomatic pressures mounted on them and a lot of guarantees of safety, because there are some judges who may want to judge rightly. But if you look at the area of forces against you, you might just want to, sit it out. Yeah. So there must be kind of international pressure around those crooked judges and international reassurances around those good judges. So you have to do an underground work. You are building a solid case in court, fine. But you also have to go around it to show up that level of, because you're talking about a state capture where one element controls the judiciary, controls the police, controls the military, controls the media, controls the social media, controls even the touts in the streets. That is complete state capture. So when you are dealing with a complete state capture, it is not enough to go and make eloquent argument in courts. You must be willing to go the extra mile to add pressure on these people. And this is the much I can say now. I invite your viewers who have not watched the videos to take their time to go to my social media handles or anywhere they can find the video and watch the video, and then they can make sense of some of the things we've said there. And these things, I am not looking at a one-off or a structured intervention. I'm looking at a disaggregated intervention where a group of young people, 5, 6, 7 people, can pull $10,000, $20,000, whatever it is, and do something at their own level. These people can pull out $3,000, $1,000, do something at their level. It's a disaggregated effort so that you don't have one chain of command, but it is the same script that everybody is running. Some people can be looking at INEX, some people can be looking at the police, because there was some police elements to this, what you saw on February 25th. There was a military element to what you saw. There was a communications element to what you saw. There was, so it has a lot of multifacets. So what I'm looking at is disaggregated interrogation of who compromised what and how can we get solid evidences. And by the way, don't mistake what I'm saying to you with what I see flying around on the social media about, oh no, this person should say what he was doing. You found it, like what happened to the CJN. The exact hotel he was in was known. If you read that People's Gazette report, it was clear that these guys had data on him. That was why he succumbed himself to using PR stunts to show people that he's in Nigeria. But even the airline he kept boarded flew to, people know it, right? So we're looking at solid evidences, not mere innuendos and anecdotes, but solid evidences that can only come from hard work and crunching of data. Nigerians should not think that the people they're dealing with are people you can just use mere social media allegations to pursue. If you're going to get these people, it must be solid evidences. And what are we going to use these solid evidences to do? One, initiate criminal proceedings against them, both in Nigeria and in international jurisdictions where they might have offended. Two, use those evidences to lobby international government as a tool to, to negotiate with our development partners to say the judiciary is compromised, the media is compromised, this is compromised. If you don't intervene, things are going to go awfully wrong. So those will be my ideas. And I've just given you a schematic of what but the full version of it is on that video.
Wow, I totally understand, and I appreciate you even sharing any of it with us. I'm getting a lot of response. The TV is blowing up. But on Facebook, I know Pastor Jack says this is a confirmation of something that the Lord has had on my heart that I must do. That's why I called, and that's why I called this guy and I said, I want to talk to you, and I want to put it on Facebook, and I want to put it on podcast, and I was saying, I told the church and the prayer groups, I said, one of the things that destroys truth is that the men who carry the banner of truth become afraid of the weight of the truth that they carry, and I didn't talk about it until look at what happened to this young man. Something he did because he was convicted to do it has become a major parameter of the life he's going to be living, his security, his safety, his family, his wife, his children. They've not gone to school since he put that video, according to what he said. And at some point, we must all, they say, what was that Proverbs, something about, when men keep quiet or something, or silent, or that kind of a thing. And just the guts and boldness that Chima has had to speak up is this thing. I'm looking at Dr. Makarinde is it, did you say Northern Ireland or where? It's not clear. Dr. Makinde. I'm not sure where you are. He says, I'd love to organize a panel of pastors and have Mr. Chima speak to us as to some of these issues, because a lot of us in the diaspora are not aware of what is going on. And some of us who keep our ears open to African news are not getting these details as we should get it. It does seem like the media was a part of this, most of them. There's very few media that have spoken out against it. Dr. Makinde, you can reach out to Kristen on your own if you want. I will talk to, I can talk to you after now, And then you can find him on Facebook. He's not a hidden personality. You can find him on Facebook or
But
YouTube
I
or
would, I
Twitter.
would prefer that he calls through you, because I have a lot of unread messages on Facebook, as you would imagine. So
Okay.
now that we know, if it's organized through you, it will get a quicker response, please.
Okay.
And then that I don't respond Facebook is not out of arrogance. It's just the sheer volume of messages is impossible to keep up.
Totally understood. So, Dr. Makinde, please reach out to me. Bishop Kingsley, my friend, is watching from Nigeria and is saying, we would love to hear more about what you're saying, please, because we cannot sit back and watch this happen to our nation. Our mandate has been stolen, and it's not just our mandate, it's our destiny, it's our future, and it is this country as a whole. I agree with you, my brother. Pastor Folorunshaw again is saying from Dubai, how can we reclaim this mandate and stop the division that is being propagated? We don't have much time to go into that again now. We will talk about it another day. My guest today has been Chima Christian, and we've been talking about what happened with the Nigerian election and how the youth can respond to it. I would love to find out from all of you the questions that you would love me to ask him in the next episode. Chima has to leave because of prior engagements. But if you have any questions you want me to ask him in the next, or ask him personally, or you want to reach out to him, I'd love to hear from you. And I want to thank Chima. Thank you so much for the time you've given us. Thank you for what you're doing. We will reach out to you. We will find out how you're doing and find out how we can help you speak the truth to power safely and legally. And until then, my name is Henry. I want to thank all of you for joining me today, and I hope to see you next time on Vantage Point with Pastor Henry. Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching this episode of The Vantage Point with Pastor Henry. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please share it with your family and friends. You can find us on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found. Download the latest episodes on Saturdays, weekly. I look forward to sharing the next episode with you. As always, stay well, stay healthy, stay happy, stay loved, and stay blessed.
See you all. Thanks.